In most role-playing games, there is a single game master and one or more players. Each has their own set of roles and responsibilities. Some of these are fixed and must be performed by either the game masters or the players. But some are more flexible and can be taken on by anyone in the gaming group. Let's start with the game master. They are typically responsible for building the world in which our game takes place, creating interesting plots that the player can explore, playing the various non-player characters that the player characters can interact with. They are the final arbiters of any game system ruling or outcomes of player actions, and they are often also tasked with scheduling and hosting their games. And game masters are also in charge of running each game session from start to finish. What does running the game session actually include? We're going to talk about that in Chapter 6, Running the Session. That is a long list! Don't worry though, because we have a secret technique that would make your life much easier. But first, let's look at the responsibilities of the players and the rule system. The players are tasked with breathing life into their characters and with taking an active role in the game. What do we mean by an active role? When players take an active role, they take actions and make decisions that move the game forward. If a player does not engage with the game, this is a potential red flag for us, the game master. It may indicate that they do not enjoy the game, or that we have not provided them with a chance to bring their character's abilities or narrative into play. Keep in mind that every character has different abilities, and not providing them with a chance to use them will likely lead to an unfavorable experience. A trap disarming rogue would feel inadequate in a non-trap dungeon. A fighter would feel useless if the adventure has long stretches without any combat. We will discuss how to handle such cases in our next chapters. The roles at the table aren't reserved just for the game master and the player though. The game system used in any game plays a major role in the pacing, story aspect, and general atmosphere of the experience. Roleplay rule systems provide a framework and a set of game mechanics that turn storytelling into a gaming experience and instill the sense of a specific genre or setting. The mechanics of a game system allow us to focus on a specific elements within the story we are telling. Often when we consider our options during a game, we will look at what the mechanic allow or encourage us to do. If there is a combat mechanic but not a diplomacy mechanic, games in that system will naturally encourage engaging in combat. Conversely, if a game system includes complex details regarding social interactions, mechanics, and only a few options for fighting, games will likely be focused more on diplomatic encounters. The rule system defines how and where we can employ our problem-solving skills and give us tools that increase or decrease the tension inside the gaming session. Many rule systems include assumptions about the genre and setting of the games they will be used for. The rules of Dungeons and Dragons, for example, were created for high fantasy adventure games, while games like Monster Heart pushes games more strongly towards supernatural teen dramas. There is one more element at the table that we should mention, that is the dice. Have you ever considered why we are using dice in tabletop role-playing game? The answer is quite simple. Dice are tools that generate uncertainty and excitement. When we roll dice, we don't know what will happen, and that makes us excited to find out. By adding this element of chaos and uncertainty, we are never fully complacent, as we never know if we will succeed or fail. That being said, we shouldn't enforce a dice roll for every scenario. If the ramifications of success or failure are not interesting, do not roll the dice. We talked about the roles and responsibilities of the game master, the players, the rule system, and the dice. Now it's time for me to tell you the big secret. How do game masters handle all their different roles and responsibilities? Remember this long list? Well, good news everyone! You don't have to do everything yourself. You can delegate some of these responsibilities to someone else. You don't care much for world building? Excellent! Use an existing setting. You don't like creating plots? Cool! buy a bunch of published adventures and run those. You dislike learning all of the various rules and deciding the outcome of every action? Play in a rules-light system or assign this responsibility to a party member who enjoys it. If mechanics are one of their sources of enjoyment, delegating this responsibility for them will not be a punishment or a chore, but a way to enhance the game for them. The same goes for scheduling game sessions. Ask one of your players to take over session scheduling. Of course, there are certain responsibilities that we GMs cannot delegate. For example, we cannot delegate playing non-player characters to any players, because NPCs usually have knowledge that players do not. Nor can we delegate the actual running of the session to a player. But apart from those, I encourage you to delegate every role that you do not enjoy to a party member that does. Let's pause for a moment and reflect upon some of the core responsibilities of game masters. Which roles and responsibilities do you plan to take on as a game master, and which will you delegate to your players? By thinking about this question ahead of time, you can identify which roles need to be filled. Please answer these questions in the Roles and Responsibilities section on the Introduction to GMing worksheet. Once you have completed this reflection exercise, you should continue on to Lesson 3 of Introduction to GMing, in which we discuss how different game systems can impact your gaming experience.